1 minute. It's like a pot of water, a watched pot of water. I want to make sure Romanowski. Okay. Just like it looks.
Yep.
Oh, it's 5:30. All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to our Community Development, Economic Development, Parks and Recreation Committee meeting. Will you call the roll?
Mrs. DiGiacomo,
Here.
Mrs. Mills. Here. Ms. Holman,
Present.
Mr. Timonier.
Here.
I would like to welcome our guest speaker today, Chelsea Romanowski. Oh my gosh, I know how to say that, and I knew I was going to mess that up. Romanowski, Chelsea Romanowski. She's from Buckeye Pace, and we're going to start with you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you all for having me here. My name is Chelsea Romanowski. I'm with Buckeye Pace. We are a new organization here in Ashtabula County. PACE stands for Program for All-Inclusive Care for the Elderly. What we do is we provide all-inclusive care to help folks over the age of 55 stay safe, healthy, independent in their homes for as long as possible. So if you haven't seen our new building down on Lake Avenue, we are in the old Rite Aid, right down from the hospital. So what we do is we provide absolutely everything for folks to stay safe, healthy, independent in their home. So that we provide transportation to and from all of their doctor's appointments. We have our day center where we can provide activities on the hour every hour. We also have all of our interdisciplinary team there. So we surround them with a customized care plan, the folks who are participating in our program. So we have our day center where we have activities. We have our own physical and occupational therapy. We have a full functioning clinic where we can do, we have a nurse on call 24 hours a day. They're able to come in and chat with our providers. We have nurses there. We can do wound care. We provide all of their medications over the counter and prescription. Eyeglasses, hearing aids, and dental care. We have our very own dietitian on staff where we can provide meals in the homes. We can provide supplements. We can provide any type of adaptive equipment if they were to need that to eat. Our physical and occupational therapists also provide physical and occupational therapy not only in the home but also in our center. All of their durable medical equipment like wheelchairs and walkers and canes, grab bars, anything that they need to stay safe, healthy, independent in their home. Oh my goodness, there's so much that we cover. It's literally everything. So we also have social workers on staff to help them connect with services in the community. They can also do one-on-one sessions. They can do family sessions. They can connect them with providers in the community. Our clinic and our facility is in network with all of the local hospitals, all the local hospital systems and the providers. If you have a PCP in the community, we can work alongside that PCP to help you get to your appointments with our transportation, to help you get your medications, to implement the care plans that they have for you. So ARMC and UH are in our network of providers, so those don't change. They just have a better likelihood of having better results because they're getting to their appointments, they're getting their medications, and we're helping them get all of the help that they may need. We also have home care, so we provide home care with our very own staff. We make sure that they can do light housekeeping, meal preparation, or personal care. We also have, oh my gosh, who am I forgetting?
Pills. You do pill prepping.
Oh yeah, medication. Yes, absolutely. Our clinic, all of their medications over the counter and prescription. But this is for folks who are 55 years or older, nursing home facility eligible, which means they need extra help in their home and community. They are safe in their community or can be safe with our services. and they live in a service area, so Ashtabula, Trumbull, or Mahoning counties. So although we are new to Ashtabula County, PACE programs have been around since the 1970s, and Buckeye PACE, we're overseen by One Senior Care, and I have worked with One Senior Care and a PACE organization since 2017, and our first PACE organization in Erie has been around for almost 20 years now. So we're super lucky to be here in my home community and helping folks who are out in, especially the rural areas of our community, like Andover and Williamsfield and Orwell, because they know they can come to our day center and get those services, but we also go to them. And the most amazing part about all of this is when they qualify for Medicare and Medicaid, there's no out-of-pocket cost for absolutely anything. There's no monthly fees. There's no co-payments. There's no donut holes. If they go to the doctor's office, if they go to the hospital, if they need new glasses, if they need dentures or hearing aids, everything is 100% covered by the PACE program. When I told you about the qualifications, I didn't mention, an income, because I would say 90% of our folks utilize Medicare and Medicaid, and that is how 100% of things are covered. A lot of times our seniors or folks I'm talking to in the community, they say, oh, well, I don't qualify for Medicaid, so I don't qualify for this program. Because this is a waiver program, more people qualify for it because the qualification for Medicaid through the PACE lens is even higher. So an individual, they're looked at as individuals, so they're not looking at a household income. They're not looking at a husband and wife's income together. So a husband and a wife can each make up to $2,900 a month. They can have $2,000 in assets, own a home and a vehicle, and qualify for Medicaid for the PACE program. So they want more seniors to have access to this preventative, all-inclusive care. So I'm super excited to share this information with folks in Ashtabula County. And if for some reason somebody doesn't qualify for Medicare and Medicaid, there is a private pay option, and that, our enrollment specialists can go out to anyone's home and talk to them about all the services that we provide and see if it's an option for them. See if it's something that they're interested in or that may fit their needs. So, if you know anybody in the community who wants to stay in their home, you think about maybe they're struggling a little bit in their home, they could utilize access to the doctors. They, have trouble managing their medication or can't afford their medication. Or, they haven't been to the dentist or the eye doctor, or they need hearing aids, but they haven't done that because their insurance doesn't cover it or they can't physically afford it. Or they need home care and, they're not getting the home care that they need. If they need a ride to their appointment, or they have to go to dialysis and no one's taking them at 5 o'clock in the morning, so they're not getting there. Even if they, frequent the Cleveland Clinic because that's where their specialist is, we meet the folks where they're at and get them where they're going. Our promise is to keep them safe, healthy, independent in their home for as long as possible.
So how is your program paid for?
Medicare and Medicaid. We get one capitated or privately paid. So we get one capitated rate for each one of our participants to care for all of their needs. That's how there's no out-of-pocket costs. That's how there's no monthly fees. We are getting one payment from each of those entities or a private pay to make sure all of the needs are taken care of.
So I've got a 90-year-old father who won't spend $5,000 on hearing aids.
Okay. So like I said, I can give you my card and brochure. I'm going to leave some of these here for everyone to take and for them to have here. Give me a call. We'll schedule for our enrollment specialist to go out, sit down in person, because what do we tell seniors? Don't give people your health information and your personal information and talk about that kind of stuff over the phone. Plus, it's so much less impersonable, right? Especially when you're telling dad, hey, I think you might need some extra help, and that's making him feeling like he's losing independence when really we're trying to boost his independence. Give me a call. Our enrollment specialist, Nicole, here in Ashtabula County, will go out to his home, sit down and talk with him and see if it's an option. Because you never know until you sit down and have that conversation.
And there's no leveraging their home.
So we utilize Medicare and Medicaid. Buckeye PACE never takes anybody's assets or homes or things like that. We help them apply for Medicaid. You know, if Medicaid sends out information about estate recovery or things like that, that would be any Medicaid program. You know, we're not Medicaid, we're not Medicare, we just get a payment from them. If there's anything that happens, you know, with estate recovery through a Medicaid program, that's not specific to Buckeye PACE, that's any Medicaid program. So I hope that answered your question a little bit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You said something about nursing home eligible?
Yes.
That's a requirement that somebody has
Yeah.
to be like,
The requirements are 55 years or older. Sorry, I keep getting away from this. 55 years or older, nursing home facility eligible, safe in their home or can be safe with our services, and living in a service area. So what nursing home level of care is 2 deficiencies in the activities of daily living. So maybe they're having trouble managing their medication or getting to their doctor's appointments. They're getting more forgetful. You know, maybe they went to some appointments on the wrong date, or, you know, they went to appointments that didn't exist, or ADLs, such as activities of daily living, such as, you know, bathing, getting around the house, things like that. Absolutely. So they only need 2 deficiencies. So you see 2 different things happening with that person. You're saying, okay, maybe they're nursing home facility eligible. Again, you don't have to be the determinant there. Our enrollment specialist will go out, chat with them, talk with them, see if they're interested, and then from there, our nurse will go out, complete the level of care, send that in to Direction Home. Direction Home will process it and see if they qualify physically.
so the nurse is the person that kind of makes that determination? like,
Well, she fills out the form, and then we send it to Direction Home, and then Direction Home says, you know, they run it through their algorithm, and that lets us know if they're nursing home facility eligible. Yeah.
Do you need to maintain a minimum number of people in the community in order to stay funded though?
No.
Because of the way the money comes in?
No. It's not funded in that way that we have to have like a minimum amount. There's no grants or anything. We're just getting the money from each participant. Yeah.
How healthy is your program since moving to Ashtabula?
So we had our first enrollment month, September 1st, and we enrolled 2 participants, and we had a really amazing enrollment month this month, October 1st, because the state of Ohio and CMS, they oversee everything that we do, so we can only enroll people on the first day of the month. And if they choose to leave the program, it is a voluntary program, they can voluntarily disenroll the last day of the month. So we haven't had any disenrollments yet, and we enrolled 11 new seniors in Ashtabula County this month. So I think that we're really reaching people. If you guys would help share this information with seniors you may see, especially our rural seniors who may not see the vans driving around or our building, your family and neighbors who I might not be in front of talking to at senior housing buildings or in these types of platforms, there's such a need. And it's very similar to the need that we're meeting in our Kentucky PACE program, because it's rural. There's not a lot of access to care. There's not a lot of resources, and it's an aging population. So I think that this is going to be an amazing resource for Ashtabula County.
And there are people that get released from the hospital, and maybe their secondary policy doesn't cover nursing home care. This is such a great resource for those people that fall between the cracks.
Exactly. Yeah, and it may not be the best fit for absolutely everybody. You know, there's so many amazing programs out there. We're here to complement what's already in the community. We're here to work alongside providers and existing programs and, you know, help those folks who are falling through the cracks, who aren't going to be successful without some type of help.
Perfect. Does anybody else in the audience have any questions?
I do have a question. You mentioned Direction Home Northeast. There used to be the area on aging.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what sorts of services do you provide in-home? Because they also allow like a voucher for someone to go in and to have respite care
Okay.
and different things.
So they just process our level of care. We provide all of our care through our staff. The everything that I talked about, all the home care, the wound care, the nurses, the physical therapy, the dietitian, the social worker, everything that we do in our center, we can also do in the home. We follow our participants wherever they may go because our goal is to keep them in their home and community for as long as possible. But inevitably, they're going to go to the hospital. We're going to follow them to the hospital. We're going to help them get them discharged as quickly as possible so that, maybe that's increasing their care plan by increasing their home care, increasing their medication management, increasing their days in the center, increasing their physical therapy, changing the amount of durable medical equipment they have. They may even go to a nursing facility for a short-term stay after a surgery or after a long-term illness, something like that. We're also going to follow them to the nursing facility. We have in-network nursing facilities that we work with. I work with most of the nursing homes in Ashtabula County because their social workers are outreaching me because they're having a safe discharge when they're utilizing us as a service. But we're following them even to the nursing home so that we can get them home sooner. Because every time they're away from their home, every night they spend away from their home, we're not fulfilling our promise. So, we're giving them intense therapy alongside the nursing facility or at our center. We can put in interventions so that they can come home sooner and that we can surround them with more interventions to do so. So, did I answer your question? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Do you have any questions, Jody?
Well, Chelsea, I know some people have said in the community, do we have a second, like a senior center? So listening to everything that you have there, it's totally two different things. Doing, two different great things for our seniors. So somebody may drive their car up to the senior center for their different activities and their different exercise classes and their meals and whatnot. You're doing a different kind of a medical care.
Exactly. So I'm really glad you brought that up. I go to a lot of the senior centers and I talk with the seniors there. I do activities with the seniors there. And I explain to them how our center is different. Oh my gosh, I wish that seniors could walk. Anyone is welcome to walk off the street and come and do a tour of our facility. But in order to get services, you have to be a participant of our program. So same thing with the activities that we have at our day center. Those are all care planned for. The days in our center are care planned. And also, we want people to stay independent and engaged with their homes and communities and, their peer groups. So if they're already going to the senior center, downtown here or in Conneaut or Ashtabula or Geneva or Andover, we want them to continue to do that alongside what we're doing because our goal is to maintain their independence. And if that's something they're doing on their own and being part of their community is so important, we encourage that and, we work alongside them as well.
So kind of complement each other.
Complimenting, yeah, absolutely.
So if I was viewing this from home and I was interested, what would I do?
Thank you. I don't have brochures to give to everybody at home. So you could call our 800 number here, 800-469-0785, and that'll connect you with folks at our call center that could take down your information, and they would then schedule that home visit with our enrollment specialist, Nicole. Just like if you were to call me, this is direct line to a person. They're off right now, but you can leave them a message and they will give you a call back and we'll get someone out to your house as soon as possible.
Great,
And I'll leave this for you guys as well.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Chelsea, if they stop in, what are your hours?
Oh, yeah, so
During
you
the
can
week?
stop into the center, take a tour, meet some of our staff. Sometimes I'm there, most of the time I'm in the community. Our center is open, like I said, on Lake Avenue. It is 2148 Lake Avenue, Ashtabula, Ohio. It's in the old Rite Aid building right down from the hospital. Our hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Thank you. So if you're welcome to stay, and I know you have a little 5-month-old and toddler at home, you're also welcome to to leave.
Well, I appreciate that.
We appreciate you
and
coming.
and thank you all for letting me speak to you and sharing our information, and thank you for taking this information back to the community and sharing it. I'll leave these here for anyone who may want them, and I hope you have a great rest of your meeting and evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, just from an economic development standpoint, this project was really cool to work with the organization on their project. I think this was the second location within the city that was finally landed on.
Yeah.
We're very happy that it landed there. It kind of coincides with what we're trying to do with that corridor. So it was a great project that complements the area. Happy to have them.
Thank you.
And it was a beautiful facility when we toured it. Very beautiful. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Jim, I'm going to jump to city manager's report.
Yeah, and I'll be quick because I do know that members of the park board are here that would like to do a presentation. So just a few things we have going on. Next year, at the beginning of the year, what they're dubbing as Opportunity Zone 2.0 is going to be released here in the state of Ohio. This is where companies are incentivized to locate within certain census tracts that meet eligibility requirements. The last Opportunity Zone program that came out really didn't benefit the city much. The location of that census tract was from Columbus Avenue to Route 11, going east and west, and then from East 6th Street, well, actually the lake, back to right around East 21st Street, maybe even a little bit further south than that. Not really much room for development within that area. So we at that time we advocated for other census tracts to be put in. They just didn't meet eligibility requirements. This next Opportunity Zone round has kind of lessened the strings that were on the first one. So we are working with Growth Partnership, and we're also working with the Lake to River group to try to get more of our census tracts added, specifically uptown here on Main Avenue. That would be one that we would really like to see included in there. Basically, the way the Opportunity Zone works is if a company invests money within that Opportunity Zone, they're eligible for income tax credits through the state of Ohio. By doing so. So it just incentivizes going into those census tracts. So we will be working with our partners on that to try to get more of our census tracts in there. Ultimately, it'll be up to the governor of which census tracts throughout the state are included. I think in the last round, they established just over 300. I think it was around 320 opportunity zones. So we're going to try to get as many as we can into the next program.
And when is the next program?
It starts in January.
Okay.
Yeah, but they haven't released all of the details on it. I think the last one ran for 2 years.
Okay.
So it's a good program to try to take advantage of.
Mr. Timonere, what kinds of opportunities will exist? I mean, what's the work that they would do? What would they offer?
What companies would offer?
What would be the benefit or advantage?
So, trying to think. So let's take the Carlisle project, for example. They could apply for funds through the Opportunity Zone because of their investment down here. Then as the years progress, they would be eligible for income tax credits on that building, which would then offset their construction costs. So that would be one example. So redoing buildings would be one eligible criteria. If a company wanted to locate a factory or a new business or something, I don't know if they have, like, you have to invest a minimum of X. I haven't seen that far into the program, but any kind of investment within that Opportunity Zone would then be eligible for income tax credits through the state, not through the city, but through the state. So it's a state program.
Okay. And would a company who wants to invest in Ashtabula in one of the hopeful census tracts that we might be included, will our moratorium impact that?
I don't think with the current moratoriums we have in place that would impact certainly the types of businesses we would like to see incentivized to come into those areas. And again, with the length of the program, we should be done with the master plan and the new zoning update by then, which then would tell us which moratoriums are either going to stick or we have limits on, or however that works within the final zoning plan.
So it's a little too soon to tell right now.
Too soon to tell on that part, yep. I don't see what we have put in place at this point being a hindrance to the types of businesses we'd like to see here. Yeah. As I had mentioned, you may have also seen Geneva has announced a lot of the details that go along with the program, but we were notified by the state and by Eastgate that there have been some very late changes to the Appalachian Community Grant process. The biggest one is that they are now telling us that the individual business owners or building owners cannot hold the contracts with the people that are going to do the work on the building. They want that to be with either the city or another government entity. And so Eastgate would be one place eligible, which means that we would have to hold contracts right now for 24 different businesses and manage all of those projects. There is no admin money in this grant, so it would just be extra work that we'd be taking on. I also think there's quite a bit of liability in hiring a contractor to do work on someone else's building that we then manage. So we are still going back and forth with all the lawyers and everything like that to try to get this resolved. We were ready to go with with bringing to council the subrecipient grant agreement that we've been talking about. This was oh, by the way, we see in all of your data, which, as those of you that came to that very first meeting, they were the ones that said, you will hold the contracts, you will go out and get your bids, we will supply you the funds. So I asked them which one of them were going to come back and tell the downtown how this is going to change, but I didn't get a response from them. So we're still working through all those details, and hopefully we'll have this resolved in the next month. If we have to hold the contracts, we'll do it. We have to get this money spent, and I want to get going for the businesses down here. So along that line, development talks still continue. We have some good things going on, a lot of talks with the NEO fund right now with different entrepreneurs that are looking to locate in some different projects that are hanging out there. So we'll be working on a lot of that stuff through the winter. We did have our first meeting of the Master Plan Steering Committee. I think it went exceptional. Got a great group of people on board with that. And I think we're going to get some really good data. We are working right now on assembling all of the dates, not only for the steering committee, but for the public sessions. There'll be at least 3 different opportunities for the public. And we intend to hold those at like the library or Kent State, or we even thought maybe People's Baptist Church that has a large area to hold people. So once we get those dates hammered down with our consultant, we will put that out early enough so that everybody has the opportunity to attend one of those 3 meetings. There'll also be community surveys that go out, and they are going to help us create a website that gives detail on how the process is going and information, links to surveys and all that stuff, and we'll tie it into the city's website when that's available. So there'll be a lot of good data that flows back and forth with the steering committee and with the master plan itself. We did have a discussion with the Ohio EPA, myself and the Ashtabula County Solid Waste Program, to discuss how we can roll out recycling for the rest of the city. Applications will open up here in October for next year, and they will look at our applications through November, and then the final application is due sometime in December. So we've already started. We've got a template that we're working off of. We are going to apply so that we can see if we can get this rolling and funded. There will be at least a 20% match from us, but we do believe the maximum we can apply for is $200,000. Our carts far exceed that. But if we were to receive the $200,000, our minimum match is 20%, but we'll be over that with what we'll have to pay for the rest of to finish that off. So we will get that in and hope for the best on that.
Mr. Timonier?
Yeah.
So I'm certainly glad to hear that there's some traction moving forward with getting recycling throughout the city. And am I correct in my understanding that this is currently the only way forward?
Correct.
And so what's the thinking for a backup plan in the event that we're not awarded for this grant?
I mean, as I've stated from the beginning, it comes down to funding, and you all have seen what the status is of the sanitation department fund. It's running extremely low. regardless of this grant, or even if we had recycling at all, we have to really have a discussion about rates. The rates haven't been changed since 2018. So even without recycling anywhere, those are discussions that we have to have. We do feel that besides the carts, there will be changes to our operations, but not significant where we have to bring on staff or we'll have to bring on the new trucks and everything at this point. We think we can do this without that. It's not ideal what I wanted. Originally, we wanted to do garbage and recycling on the same day at the same location. Will most likely be the areas that we're doing recycling in now on one Friday would remain on that one Friday. The new areas would go to a different Friday. So it would be every other week. Not ideal, but that's I think what we can do. And what we would plan on doing at that time, or what the staff has and I have been talking about, is we would pick up garbage Monday through Thursday, and then we would run the first route of recycling on one Friday, and then the second route of recycling on the next Friday. So we'd have a whole day with recycling. So that's the tentative plan right now.
So I have another question. You want me to wait until your report is finished, or I have another question about that?
That's all I had from my report.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was brought to my attention, and I'm not sure that this is true, that in the wards where recycling exists, residents can purchase a second bin.
You can purchase a second garbage bin, and that is only if you keep exceeding the limit that's in there. And I think the monthly rate also goes up if you have 2 garbage bins.
Okay, so currently there's not an option to purchase additional recycling
No.
bins?
No.
Okay.
No.
And then another question is for trash receptacles.
Mm-hmm.
Does the city provide trash receptacles?
In the areas where there's recycling, yes, that was part of the program. And that would be the goal when we do the next round. We would provide a cart for garbage and a cart for recycling.
Okay, so that's what currently exists in other wards.
Correct.
So I'm checking my understanding. While we know that recycling doesn't exist in all the wards, why is it that the wards that have recycling also have city-provided trash receptacles, whereas the other wards, correct me if I'm mistaken, where the other wards have to purchase their own typical trash receptacles?
So again, that's the way we rolled out the program. Said we would provide both. It also lessens the amount of garbage you can put in there, so we went with 64-gallon cans, or toters. Those are provided, will be provided when we roll it out to the rest of them to both areas. It's going to be between a 400, I think our last estimate was right around $400,000 to buy both the recycling toters and the garbage toters that we'll be giving out.
Yeah, and I asked about a backup plan because I think we all got an email. I'm not sure. I know I certainly did. I was surprised when a resident said that they had been asking for recycling bins in other wards for about 7 years. And I was actually shocked because I haven't been around for 7 years, but I was surprised that the request had been out there that long.
I think we rolled recycling. Yeah, I mean, it was like 2019, I think. 2019 or 20 when we rolled it out. So it's close.
Yeah, I question whether that's acceptable, but I hope there's some more brainstorming or some other strategizing around if we are unable to get the grant, if there's some other
Well,
possibilities out
we'll be
there.
doing budgeting, and you are more than welcome to tell me where to find it.
I did ask the finance director. I probably need to follow through with that question, but
Right now, we're running close to a deficit in sanitation. And also remember too, and this is a good thing. It's a catch-22 when it comes to recycling. We receive funds from the solid waste district based on tipping fees at the landfill. We are the biggest supplier of garbage to the landfill because we have our own municipal waste. So when we start recycling and less is going to the landfill, we will also receive less funds for sanitation within, because of the tipping fees will be less. It was between a 17 and 25% reduction in garbage when we did the first two areas with recycling. And we expect that same result once we roll it out the rest of the city, because it's about the same amount of
Trash versus what's recyclable?
it's about the same amount of stops as we had the first time, so we expect about that same ratio. That also means we pay less in a garbage fee, but we also receive less money coming back from the tipping fees.
I have a question. So I've had a lot of people message me about the three things that are going to,
Yes, you did ask me that.
if you could just explain, I don't know
Yeah.
that I can explain it. That's why I'm going to have you
Yeah,
explain it.
and it probably will, look more daunting than it actually is. So as you all know, council, right now, the city cannot, we're not allowed to expend anything over $10,000 without council approval. And I would say probably the majority of ordinances that I bring to you fall between $10,000 and $50,000 of a spending limit. I bring you a lot of $12,000 things or minor things like that. Costs, of course, have gone up for everyone. So this has, in a lot of times, and this not just this year, but this goes back to when I first started here, and I'm sure other city managers have experienced it. When we have to open a road for a sewer lateral repair, we're approaching that 10,000, in most cases going over that 10,000 quickly, and that's why it requires us to come back to council for an ordinance before we do those projects. So what council has agreed to and what we are proposing is raising that to $50,000 for the spending limit. It's a lot more practical, but it still provides oversight by city council for our large expenditures. There are many municipalities that have even a much larger limit than that. For instance, the city of Conneaut, theirs is actually set by ordinance that council can change at any time. Their limit is $75,000 for their manager. I'm not sure what the limit is in Geneva, but that is also set by council. It's not within their charter. I think the $50,000 still provides oversight, doesn't allow runaway spending, and allows oversight for council to do this. But it gets a lot of our day-to-day operations projects done without having to wait. Sometimes, like in the case of this month, we have 3 weeks between council meetings the way that the Mondays fall. So it helps speed up a lot of that work. A lot of the permanent repairs that you see out there, we have to bring clusters of them to you. We never bring them over $50,000. We could be getting those done without waiting for council to approve it. We still have to get bids. We still have to be competitive. None of that goes away. It's just that spending limit is at 50,000 instead of 10. So that's the section 61 of the charter that we're requesting be changed from 10,000 to 50,000. The next section goes along with that, where let's say we had a contract for $42,000 to do multiple street repairs. And they came back and said, hey, this particular one, we had to do more permanent depth, full depth replacement. We have to add $2,000 to the contract. So now the contract becomes $44,000. As long as a change order doesn't happen that throws it over $50,000, I could enter into those change orders without coming back to council. Say it was a $40,000 and something catastrophic happened, or we found a huge cavity in one of those holes, and now we have to add $12,000 to the contract, it becomes 52. I would have to come to council and say, hey, here's what happened. I need authorization to spend over the $50,000. And then the last one that we're requesting a change has to do with awarding contracts. So currently, if a bid comes in and it is 2 cents over the engineer's estimate, we are not allowed to accept it. We have to kick it out and rebid. We're asking for a 10% variance from the engineer's estimate to the bid, that we can still accept it. ODOT does a similar thing with a variance over their limit. So that's the request for that one as well. It's just gonna, all of these things will help us be a little bit faster and more efficient when it comes to making repairs.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Let's go to Parks and Recreation Committee.
Give it, hold it for a second. Okay, let it go. It'll come on.
Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm Blake Hinkle. I'm with the Parks Board. I live on the corner of 16th and Union. I'm here to just kind of go over, as a Parks Board, we've kind of coalesced around some of the asks of the city manager in relation to identifying a master plan, and then also just something that I had brainstormed as well as I thought was prudent policy. Everybody has a little packet. The first part of the packet I'll go over is just kind of a little bit of a fact grabber sheet for, I'll get you guys, well, I apologize, I didn't give you all paper, I'll have to get you all paper. We're hoping that we can get council to work towards passing an ordinance that gives some uniformity to how we replace trees in our parks. We had noticed that there was a need for some trees that had been cut down this last year. So we were hoping that by addressing this, not just that instance, but in the future, there's a way for a mechanism for trees to be replaced in our park. The Parks Board and myself unanimously voted that we think our parks operate as a green space first and foremost. And we just would like to have those green spaces upkept and invested into. I took on the task of drafting proposed legislation that would be something for y'all to kind of refer to, in hopes that if in a perfect world we could pass something like this, it would be something similar. In relation to the ordinance, which y'all have in front of you, we kind of named it the Keep Ashtabula Beautiful Ordinance as a cheeky reminder that we all want to keep Ashtabula beautiful. To that end, the ask in the ordinance is that whenever there's a tree that gets removed for any reason, and granted the trees in question were removed from disease, so it wasn't as though it was anything that was removed in haste or for some type of other project, it was just trees that were old. The hope is that with this ordinance that anytime a tree needs to be removed for any reason at all, in our parks specifically, because the city manager did echo a concern in previous parks meetings about right-of-way and easements. So this is just specifically addressed to our parks, that when a tree gets removed, we replant 2 in its honor. The rationale for 2, one is that why not 2? 2 is that we really isn't many reasons that we plant a bunch of trees in the parks, and I don't necessarily, my point is just that we hope that by these operating at green spaces primarily, that we realize that we have a civic duty to keep them green spaces. And I feel that it is something that is morally right to do when you have levy funds. We have a parks levy. It gets over $300,000 a year. We're hoping that by utilizing a small portion of the parks levy that we just replant the trees that are getting cut, that get removed through whatever reason. I met with City Manager Timonier earlier today, and he was receptive to the idea and willing to work with us in good faith towards crafting something that y'all can maybe coalesce around. I have just a proposal in front of y'all. This is just to try and get the ball rolling. Ms. Colgan had sent me something much more formal that was just a proposed ordinance. I'm working with Budget Director Khan, or Director of Finance Khan, to figure out exactly the legal language that is appropriate for the funding for the trees. But I do think that, I'm hoping that we can make this happen because we would like to see our green spaces upkept. And other than that, in relation to the ordinance, we just have the master action plan. We call it a master action plan, but this is just really our top line observations for each of the parks. We hope that by conveying community concerns as well as our own observations, that we can move towards positive changes in the parks over time when budget allows. We saw a really great investment by the city and the local company, or the local affiliated company, INEOS, with the 38th Street Park. And I know that we're very excited to see that, and I'm thankful that Jim and everybody else involved in the background was able to kind of facilitate making that happen, because it's a nice little park. And what was interesting was INEOS made it a point to tell us all that what was the deciding factor for them choosing that park is it was the park that had the most use when they drove by. So that says a lot about that park, I think. But yeah, if I would be willing to take any questions or anything else like that. I mean, in regards to the master park plan, it's all of our parks. So these are more observations. We're not coming necessarily asking anything. We're just more or less fulfilling our duty, we feel, which is just to be observers of the parks and what the public comes to us with comments or concerns or what we hear on the street or any of that. So do anticipate that at the next meeting, the Parks Board will come back with a couple issues, particular that we would love to see addressed in our parks in the city. So with that, if anybody has any questions.
I'd like to say thank you. There's a lot of work went into this.
Thank you, Ms. Mills.
A lot of thought going to each one. I mean, I know like the township, they have one big park, Lakeshore Park.
Right, we have
People
13.
don't realize how much money they have to maintain one park, what we have for all of our parks. So there's tons of potential out there. There is I don't know, Ms. DiGiacomo and I reached out. There's a person that's able to, and I think it's at no cost, a division of forestry in this northeast corridor. We reached out to, that can come and do an official, like an assessment at your park. So say, you know, because you have on here, I don't know how that would work because I'm not an arborist or, you know, somebody like that would say, okay, so like in this park, you have this and this and this tree, so I would suggest blah, 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 or, you know what I mean?
No, for sure.
But they, you know, are able to do that and come up and would probably give you a good assessment on what you have and where it is and location, and like looking at more like 50, 100 years from now, because I don't know, Jim, what are the size of those ones in some of those parks now? They're
That's a good point too, because
so mammoth, you know what I mean? And then,
So, Ms. Mills, so what we would want to accomplish is finding what is the native planting for here, and you know what's in our parks that's invasive, and you know, establishing, are we going to buy a juvenile type tree, or are we buying, you know, so that's going to
right,
determine
where
what the cost is going to be.
where the starter is, how
Right,
big it is
how we do
to
that.
your starter.
So we
Yeah.
did a lot of that when we planted 20-plus trees at Walnut Beach when we did the invasive species removal and native planting restoration there. There was over 20 trees that were planted, but Western Reserve Nature Conservancy, I think, helped us with, here's the species, and you know, here's how we're going to do this, and then they all came out to help
Yeah.
do that planting. So, but I just want to want to reiterate what Mr. Hinkle said, that there is no like harvesting plan or anything going on. That's why this ordinance is coming up. These were 4 trees that, between storm damage and just being diseased, had to be removed in the park. There's still a lot of trees in the park. We have no intention of taking down any other trees. And if there is a plan of actually like redoing a park that would include removal of trees, landscaping would be put back in. At least that would be my drive on that. So the couple recommendations I made to Mr. Hinkle and to Ms. DiGiacomo was, don't just pass this as an ordinance hanging out there. Put this into the parks area of our codifieds, because if it's just passed as an ordinance and not readily accessible to those of us in the future that come along, nobody's going to, like, unless we're all here to say, hey, if you're taking down a tree, there's an ordinance hanging out there that says you have to, and then
Right.
the clerk is going to have to go on a witch hunt trying to find it. If it's actually in our green books or online within that section, That would be my one big ask of you, is put it in the actual section so that it's there for everyone to see going forward. But, you know, when it comes to cost, I don't believe trees are that expensive.
No, that was gonna be one of the
depending on
points
size
I
that you
made.
get, so I don't think budgetary wise it's gonna be that much of a difference.
If we,
And there's a big science to it. I mean, there's a lot to,
The
you know,
biggest
all
thing
these
is-
little areas we have when people are thinking pollinators and trees
Oh,
and.
for the 20
there's a
trees that we
lot to
planted
it.
down at the park, it was a good, well, from spring to fall of us going and making sure the water bags were full, making sure that they
When they
weren't
first go in,
tilting,
right,
making sure the
right.
stakes were all up there.
Taking
So
care
there was
of
a
it.
lot of man hours
Yeah,
that went to making sure that those trees survived. And then it's after about that first year that they finally get a root established that you don't have to do all that.
working for the next generations so that it's, you know, you have this space and there's nothing in it.
to your point, we want to grow trees whose shade we don't necessarily sit under. And
Yes.
I think that to address the concern in relation to the tree species and what have you, all that, like, I had made comment to Ms. Holman as well when I had spoke to her about it another time. We're just trying to get the ball rolling. Council can do whatever council needs to do. We just want to make sure, we would, in a perfect world, you guys would codify 2-to-1 tree replanting, but even if we could get 1-to-1 and it was the law, that would at least ensure some uniformity. To Jim's point, none of us on the Parks Board remotely think that the administration's going out there and maliciously cutting down trees like a Sonic the Hedgehog bad guy. But we do want to see stewardship with our levy dollars that we feel is reflective of actual change. Trees growing in the park is a big billboard saying, hey, we're spending this money effectively and we're doing what's right with the parks. Not to insinuate that that's not already happening, but we would just like to see we would like to see the trees replaced. So, I mean, it may only be 4 trees, but we want to see those 4 trees replaced. So,
And maybe we can work on connecting with that person that would be able to, because that's somebody that can.
and I'm more than
can
willing
just
to
come up. It's not
collate
at any
information and
cost. That's what they do, and
So that person I've reached out to so many times, and I've heard back crickets.
we did hear back, I think,
I
one
have a-
time.
I have,
I think the
Yeah.
Ohio Avenue Extension also can help us with some of that.
I would
Okay.
rather
Or
go a
we have
different
contacts
than
with the-
I mean, when
we
you
have-
know,
we have
show
good
me a
contacts
bunch of
with-
times, then
yeah.
I'm done with you.
We have good contacts with the Nature Conservancy and the Western Reserve Land Conservancy.
I'll also
Sure.
do research on the board end and just see, because to be honest with you, I don't think it'd be too hard to at least find a list of 10 to 15 tree species. And to that point, in the ordinance that we have proposed in front of you, the only other concern that we had in relation that we had gotten from the administration's office when we had spoke about even theoretically trying something like this was that the trees be manageable for our Parks Department and not be something that we have to have a tree service come in and spend a bunch of money taking care of. Why I didn't say native trees is because, at risk of sounding idealistic, I'd love to see cherry blossoms in Veterans Park, and those are not invasive to Ohio, or they're not native to Ohio. They're from Asia. So to that end, with that being said, I just want to see trees replanted. So if it's native trees and that's how we do it, whatever I need to do to get across the finish line, I will be following up. You know what I mean? I want to see this happen.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a comment and then a question. First, thank you all for putting together this proposal. I think it's important. And I am aware of the work that you all also did to update the West 38th Street Park on Saturday. Again, thank you and any else for that. It was unfortunate that there was an exchange that also occurred, and I just want to acknowledge that I hope it doesn't diminish the need or the appreciation we have for the work that you all have done to upgrade that park for the city and for Ward 3, which I'm a counselor for. So
Thank you, Ms. Holman.
for that. And the other thing I wanted to add is, do we ever reach out to OSU? OSU has a Master Gardeners group.
That's the group I was speaking of as another alternative for
Okay.
us, yes.
And then the other question I have about this is, and I really don't know if this is an issue, but is there ever a problem with overpopulation of trees?
There can be, depending, if they're not the correct species, they can kind of affect each other if there's too much of a canopy. A lot of the stuff that we see, though, when you have an overpopulation of trees, is the vegetation below it doesn't have the opportunity to grow if it's not getting the sunlight.
Okay, and so the reason I asked that is you're asking to replace 2 trees for 1 lost.
Yes.
Is there a magic number around 2, or why not 1? Or help me just, better understand.
2 is just because if we start at 2 and go down to 1, we have we have negotiation room. I'm a salesman by trade, so that honestly was the number one thing is that I needed to have some build in there. The other part is why not 2? We're not. I don't mean to in any way disparage any department or administration for saying this, but I think we should be planting more trees in general. And I think this is a really good excuse to plant trees. I think that if this is the only reason we plant trees, it's a hell of a good reason, pardon my French. So that's where I'm coming at in relation to my conviction. In relation to anything else about species or size or how many, as long as we replant 1, that'd be awesome. That would be so awesome. And I can tell you that I put a bunch of trees in my front yard this last 2 years, and a really expensive, nice, well-established tree is like $150. So even if we did the 2 to 1, there's 4 trees missing, we planted 8. That's, God, my brain isn't working, but it's like less than $1,500. So I don't know.
When you talk about the 2 to 1, to your point about overgrowth, there's nothing specifying that they have to be put in the same exact location.
No, that's a good point. In our
Progress across the city, for decades, trees have been cut down or died, and they haven't necessarily been replaced. So the 2 to 1 makes more sense than the 1 to 1 because we're progressing as a community, adding these shady places for people as the planet's getting hotter and everything. We have a community of people that don't have a lot of entertainment dollars, so our parks are really important for them to have somewhere to go. So I think not even worrying about having 2 in the exact same location, but just 2 somewhere.
And the ordinance addresses that too. The ordinance says as long as you can put another tree in any other park, it's just in that park. And it also gives ample time as well. It's not an unlimited runway, but if these trees are down during the height of winter, then the middle of summer, the end of summer, the city could have all summer to do whatever they need to do. It's not that, oh my God, there's a tree going down, we just want to see it happen over time. And to the question in relation to the mechanism in relation to parks codifying or ordinance, again, I'll leave that all up to you, but in relation to keeping that on the forefront, one of the things in the legislation we propose is that the Parks Board would also maintain not any teeth oversight, meaning there's no repercussions for us keeping our oversight, but we would have the ability as the Parks Board, one of our duties would be to maintain that these trees are getting replaced in a timely manner, and then when they're not, we can bring it up with Mr. Timonier or whoever the city manager is and council ultimately if nothing's going on. To that end, though, it would behoove the Parks Board to stay on top of that and tell whoever. So, even if it was, and if Mr. Timonier thinks that the most effective way is through the parks ordinance codifying stuff, then I'll divert to him because I'm hoping to work with him to get it done. But to that end, even if it's done through the ordinance, the Parks Board will stay on top of that. But regardless of how y'all do it, I don't really care.
Mm-hmm. So just a couple comments. I think in the ordinance you're suggesting 20-foot height. So when you think about the trees we have now, I think 20 foot is a lot less than some of the trees that we have around here. So I don't think we'll have to worry about canopy or anything like that, in the future. Getting back to the NEOS project, I'm very happy that we were chosen and worked on that. Actually, Mr. Ducro was the first person to bring that to me, and then he and I advocated for the West 38th Street Park for their thing. So a couple items that still have to be done there, which they are assisting us with. The court is going to be striped. So they've ordered the kit for that, and they've hired a company that's going to come out and do that for the court. And then the swing set and seesaw, they're on their way. Our staff is going to install that. What I would ask, and I've been working with NEOS on this, is that council issue a resolution of thanks to them and acknowledging this. I'm already working on the language of that resolution, and then we would do a presentation at the council meeting. Hopefully when everything is done, and we've even talked about during that council meeting having a little slideshow just to show the before and after. They took some really good pictures of it. So I don't know if, I obviously won't be this Monday, but shooting for the second meeting in October or possibly the first meeting in November. So I've reached out to them to try to coordinate that.
That's awesome.
And Mr. Manager, I would just like to say, I did not know that it was a working day and I was out of town. And when you sent that email out, just stop and tell them thanks. So, I mean, I would have switched if I would have known it was, something like that to, dig in there and
they really
get
didn't-
dirty and
yeah.
help out. So,
They really didn't ask that we
Yeah.
do that, but I just thought it would be nice that we show up and
Yeah.
be acknowledged.
On the
that
Parks
we were
Board,
there.
we really, 38th Street's been a park that we've been talking about as long as I've been on the board. And so when there was that spearheaded to do that, we really wanted to embrace that and show that we really supported that. And we were thankful for the city manager and JP and whoever to follow through with that. You know what I mean? That's a beautiful little crown jewel of a park that inner city kids use daily. And I think it is the right thing to do to take care of that park. I do. I think it is the right thing to do. So that I am very, very thankful that we made those improvements. And it's funny because I was talking to Earl on the board with us and he goes, man, it's crazy what a coat of paint will do, but it really is. And it looks so good. And I'm excited to see the improvements of the other equipment that comes in, and I think that it's a good thing. We all on the Parks Board think it's an amazing thing. We're thrilled. So thank you, Jim.
Kids know they're being thought about.
Yeah.
It's our purpose.
gives them somewhere to go. It's positive.
So I guess my question, with this ordinance, am I understanding this is to go into the Parks Board ordinance? No.
No, there's a section about park and recreation where it has like the parks rules and different things like that, all the different things that go on in the parks. I would just say it gets added to that section. I don't recall the,
So what do I need to do to move it out of committee to council?
well, I think you actually have to have the ordinance as you want it. Right,
So it's-
I'm willing to work with you on that or.
Yeah, no, I'll get with
or whatever.
Jim and I'll also get with Ms. Colgan. I have to get with Mr. Khan anyway as well. Well, I could get with Jim because yeah, that's fine. I'll figure out the specifics language and then maybe at the next meeting I'll bring it back and then we can move forward from there. So
Okay.
that'll be the timeline. We'll be shooting. Jim will be annoyed by me because in 2 weeks if I don't hear nothing, I'll just show up at his office like I did today.
Not a problem, anytime.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Tim, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I think it's been pretty well covered. With the tree planting, I just want to emphasize once again that this is just in the parks and not on easements or tree lawns or anything like that. And if you get a park, for example, the old North Park, Cornelius Park, if you're afraid of overpopulating, we've got 13 parks. We replaced one tree in Cornelius Park, another tree at Caden, so just so we're hoping for the 2 to 1. It doesn't necessarily have to be in one park all at once.
We want to see more trees.
Okay, I understand.
It's a good excuse. If you only have one excuse and it's this, it's a good excuse.
Madam Chair, there's one plan that we've had sitting on the shelf. We're just looking for an opportune area to do it. We saw it at one of the conferences that we went to where they took, I don't think it was a park in this instance, I think it was a new development that went in with a new road, and they selected a tree that was a different color than everything else around it for that road. And then they have aerials of it that it's just a cool contrast with that. So it's one of those things that kind of sits on our shelf, and if we ever have the opportunity to have like that pop and make things stand out, we would like to take advantage of it. So,
Great.
Yeah.
It's great. So is there any?
When
oh,
you talk about vegetation and trees and things, so we did attend a zoning conference, actually lined up perfectly with the start of our master plan committee, but the zoning conference was in Toledo. Many of you have probably heard about the Asian lanternfly, which would be devastating to our crops, especially the grape crops here. They were all over Toledo. And it was kind of comical in a sense that everybody knew that they were to be killed. So everybody just walking downtown stomping on these Asian lanternflies as you come. So if you do see those in the area, number one, it needs to be reported so that they can try to find where the eggs are or where it's rooting from, so that they can destroy it and kill whatever you see. So they're actually moving away from killing, well, still to kill the adult, but to try to find the eggs. That's what's gonna.
Would you repeat
Isn't there a
that?
certain plant that they,
Milkweed.
milkweed,
Tree of Heaven. Yeah.
tree of heaven?
Remember that time? They were talking about that in our meeting with Brian Humphrey.
I think there was a
Would you repeat the name of it again, please?
Asian lanternfly, spotted. Yeah,
Did you agree?
spotted lanternfly. I'm sorry. Yeah, they're actually they're a good size. You can't miss them.
They have them in Pittsburgh, I know
Yeah, I think
that.
there was a spotting in Jefferson. So
I
it's,
swore that I've killed some in my garage. I was telling somebody that. Now, to be honest with you, I didn't call any number, and I didn't save them, so maybe I'm full of it, but.
well, if you see another one, let us know.
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
taking a picture.
okay.
If you're in that city, you gotta report it. I'm like, shit, I should have done that, pardon the French.
Something to think about for the tree ordinance too, because if you do pull out that, you should be removing the tree of heaven if you can. So you might want to consider that separately since that's an invasive.
Thank you for saying that. We, another community member at our last parks meeting brought that up, and that's something we intend to discuss. It was just brought up under new business, so we didn't really even know about that. So, thank you. Yeah, we definitely don't wanna plant any more tree of heaven.
Yeah, there was a lot of work done at Walnut Beach through the Army Corps and Western Reserve Land Conservancy, and I can't remember who the other organization was that helped us, but we did a ton of invasive species removal. And not only at Walnut Beach, but that extended all the way down the breakwall over to Norfolk Southern's property. So all of that has been remediated and then replanted with native plantings back there. It's been amazing to see the growth back there. So. And it's chapter 959 is our park and recreation facilities
959.
chapter.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Is there anybody else in the audience that wants to say something?
Sure, I just want to give a quick update.
Yep.
All right, good evening, Julie Wayman. I'm on the board of My Neighborhood Collaborative. It's a nonprofit that's been involved in Clifford Caden Park for the past 15 years, and we were responsible for getting some of that infrastructure that you see there today, the pavilion, the shed that we store our tools in, and we've operated the garden program. So just wanted to come and give a little update on what's happening with our group and with our garden program, because I know there were some questions. So we are responsible for the neglected mulch pile there. Anyway, as an organization, we've been around for the past 15 years. The garden kind of hit its height during COVID. We had quite a few people out there utilizing it and utilizing the produce, but we have since seen a reduction in volunteerism and engagement. We don't have broad support from the community to keep it going. And so we've, as an organization, decided we have to do something different. We can't continue to maintain a very large footprint there in the city park. And so we need to kind of change gears. So I want to mention that we have a couple ideas. We're happy to just close it down completely. Of course, we do have the infrastructure there with the hoop house and the shed and some other equipment stored there, so we'd have to talk about that. The other option we've talked about, and this is Linda Dole. She actually is a master gardener, and I should say that I work for OSU Extension as well, so I will bring that information back that you guys are looking for tree recommendations. And I'd also encourage you to reach out to the Soil and Water District. They do a tree sale every year, and Suzanne Westlake there is very knowledgeable on plantings and things. So anyway, so the thought is, regardless of what's decided overall as an organization, we need to shrink the footprint of that garden and drastically reduce its size. We've talked about keeping it on as a teaching garden for the community, run by the master gardeners, where they would come in and do a demonstration plot largely. We've currently been trying to do production agriculture, where we sell shares of a CSA that provided vegetables for low-income and senior individuals for the past 10 years. But it's gotten to the point where we can't sustain it with our current volunteer base. So teaching garden is one possibility, and then of course just shutting it down is the other possibility. So I'm just putting it out there. I don't need, we can talk about it as a smaller group at your next meeting, kind of what direction the city wants to go on, what they would want to see. And then we acknowledge that we need a plan for moving the equipment and getting things kind of back in order there. So I don't know where to start, which group, which meetings to come through.
I would say the park the Parks Committee, which is going to be October 27th?
22nd,
7th.
27th?
And it'll be here at 5:30 PM.
Okay,
I think that's a great starting point.
okay.
I would only request, I mean, that's getting late into the season, especially if we have to go do some mowing and tilling or getting it ready to just like plant
Yeah.
grass. We'd like to know sooner and later so then I can send staff out there to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Just mow it all down? Okay.
Everywhere, Linda, even the section in front of the shed, or do we want to mark it on a map? How about, we'll get you a map.
Well, either
or
that or
something.
I can have you meet with park staff
Okay.
out there.
That
and
would
then
be
you
fine.
can tell us what to do and we'll
Yep,
we'll
that
get
would
it
be
done.
perfect.
Okay.
And we do have a cleanup day scheduled, or tentatively scheduled. We're trying to get the Spire kids back out there because Kate Reedy will be in town for that weekend. And we're looking at October 26th, so we'll keep you posted on that once it gets scheduled. But we do have intentions to get that mulch pile moved and to get some of that fencing pulled down from the areas that we know we aren't going to need it, so. Any-
October 26th, from when to when?
We've got to firm up that detail because we've got to get a commitment from the Spire kids first. And if they can't do that date, we'll look at a date, maybe the weekend before. But we need mass in terms of labor. We need multiple people who are able to run a wheelbarrow up and down the garden multiple times. So we've got to get some hopefully young kids in there.
Is any of the equipment or items or material reusable?
Yeah, everything could be potentially reused. It's just a question, of where, if the city doesn't have need for it. I mean, it's all on city property, but was raised by funds through our nonprofit organization. So, whatever we can do to move it along to someone who can use it, I think is what we would want to do. So,
And how will people know what's available?
well, we'll make it known when we're ready to decide that. So, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Does anybody else have anything they want to add or say?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Ryan Lensel. I live here in Ashtabula. To Ms. Holman's point about the recycling, we talked about if there was a possible half step of any kind, if that grant money falls through. Would it be currently, if people live outside of the wards that have recycling, do they have the option to drop recycling off at the sanitation or any other locations locally?
Not only, if you have, and I've had to do this, if I had extra recycling, you can bring it to the drop-off locations and anyone in the city can bring items to the drop-off location. We have the drop-off location at the transfer station, and then there's also one in Saybrook at the Township Hall on Route 45, and I don't believe there's one in Ashtabula Township, but those are the two closest to the city.
So it is okay for city residents to take stuff to the Saybrook? Because I had a
Correct.
couple people ask me that question. So if the grant money falls through, I know that the city has some unimprovable lots in different areas because they're too small, like for code reasons. What about the possibility of creating like a recycling outpost, maybe one in each ward, where people could just take their recycling to those and drop them off? Then they wouldn't have to go all the way to the sanitation station, which would make it more likely that they would participate. And of course, that would save man hours and driving from site to site for everybody. It would kind of be a half step to alleviate those pressures.
So those sites are actually operated by the county, the solid waste district, and funded through by the county. In other municipalities such as Conneaut, they've actually had to shut down some of those sites because of abuse, where people were dropping off trash and it wasn't monitored. One of the reasons we have it at the sanitation department is so that we could actually have eyes on it and
Sure.
monitor it. And we, at one time, the city, before all of this happened and before my time, we had containers at Smith Field. If you remember that long ago, they were horribly abused. So that's why those were pulled out of there. It's an option. It's something to look at. I think, again, the reason that we even started curbside recycling was because in order for the county to meet their solid waste district plan, which is approved by the state of Ohio, the city has to have curbside recycling. Doesn't mean they're going to fund us, but because we are the most populated area, we have to have curbside recycling in order to meet the plans. So we were playing ball. That's how we got into this. And we do need to finish it for the rest of the city, and that's why we're going to try for this grant.
So obviously, you said since you came in office, which is like 12, 13 years ago, technology has gotten far more affordable. I mean, putting cameras up and some sort of like a scanner with a gate where people could, put an ID in or something. I mean, it seems like.
The locations I was speaking of that the Solid District put up were within the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I just mean the technology is so affordable now to have cameras. I feel like we should have more cameras on really any of these sites where we're having vandalism or different issues. You said something about the transfer station running at almost a deficit. Is that correct?
Sanitation Department.
Sanitation Department. What is the just largest expenditure there? The only reason why
manpower and it probably goes manpower, our fee for disposal at the landfill, and then it would run into the equipment.
So the reason why I ask is because if you guys are the largest, you said that you're the largest customer for the contributor. So that would say to me that there would definitely be a negotiation there for quantity compared to other smaller haulers. Like I have Whole Heart, and you had mentioned that you haven't raised fees since 2018. Sounds like it's coming based on what you said. The fees for Whole Heart are cheaper than the city, but they don't have the same buying power because they don't have as much on the tipping side. So I was just curious, could you negotiate a lower fee with that? I mean, is because of the bulk amount of things? I mean,
we do have a negotiated contract with Waste Management. It's over a 5-year period. And additionally, we accept their leachate from the landfill, and that offsets the cost of both of our sludge removal at the wastewater treatment plant and our municipal garbage. We also have 2 different rates at the transfer station, at Waste Management at the landfill. One for C&D, which is why you see a separate pile down at our yard, and then what is considered municipal waste. C&D is construction debris and demolition debris. So if you're tearing out your kitchen, it goes in a separate pile than what your municipal garbage would go into. And there are 2 different fees for that when we run out to the landfill.
And then lastly, with regard to the parks and the areas that surround the parks, what is the city's mechanism and policy for removing vandalism and graffiti? There's a lot of graffiti near the parks, in the parks, on our bridges, on the parking deck. The stuff's been up there for months and months, in some cases years. It's a can of paint and some rollers. What can we do to help minimize we're seeing it in the train trestles, and our kids grow up in this community and they see Get Off Crack on the parking deck, which is owned by the city or managed by the city. The bridges have gang symbols on them. The trestles have gang symbols on them. It's well known in the graffiti world that the key to it is quickly covering it. The longer that it sits, it becomes competitive among the graffiti artists, if you will. And we have graffiti that's decades old, and now it's starting to come back up again in other places. So what is our mechanism for taking care of what seems like a fairly simple, thing to manage? I know there's a lot of complicated things in the city, but this one seems pretty simple. You roll some paint over top of it.
So we do go out and attack the bridges quite often. We have been in the parking deck. Unfortunately, it does seem to pop back up quickly. But we try to get to it as soon as we can with all the other daily activity that we do. There's not like a procedure of, okay, today's the day we ride around and look for graffiti. If it gets reported to us, we try to address it as soon as we can.
What's the best way to report that?
At my office, it's fine.
Okay. And one other question, why is the parking garage not secured? Why is there not like a gate system so that people aren't sleeping in there, doing drugs, spray painting? Like what's stopping the city from just putting some sort of a gate? I see that there's fencing on the first floor now so that people can't climb over those railings, but if the main entrance is still open into the evening and people can obviously reach up and over and do graffiti and all sorts of things, why can't we secure that structure? I don't understand.
In order to really get that parking deck into a condition, it would take a lot of investment, electricity into those different things that have automatic gates, because staffing to go out there and open and close them all the time. The parking deck is actually used quite a bit. There's a lot of cars that do park in there, so we do our best to try to keep it up, and we're constantly, it's one of our patrol routes that we drive through it and kick people out on a regular basis and then go back and try to clean up a lot of stuff. We do have the second and third floor blocked off because of egress. The stairwells are not opened. We have all those welded shut so that people can't hide out in those places. Long-term plan, I think it would be, but based on the cars that use that and what we see coming to downtown, it would be much better, I think, for us and the age of that structure to raise it and make that a nice parking lot with trees and decorative elements and everything in that back area.
Well, parking is a huge issue downtown as it is, so taking 3 decks and consolidating into a single and then having some landscaping, I think we'd lose more parking that way too, but
You would lose more parking, but there is no, we don't have a parking deficit in downtown. We've run the numbers on that.
okay. And I think just a sliding gate, even, it just seems to me that just a simple sliding gate, we could call Thomas Fence and price that out. And once in the morning at 6 a.m. it could be opened, and once at night at 9 o'clock it could be closed. That seems like a pretty straightforward, pretty simple solution to people being in there overnight and defacing the property, which of course there's cost involved in cleaning all that up and stuff. So really it's an investment in preventing the kind of vandalism that makes our community look shoddy. And someone could fall out of the thing trying to spray paint over the edge, and there could be liability there. I mean, it just seems like a cheap, easy solution to put a gate up during the non-use hours and have somebody go by once early in the morning and once at night. That's probably my comment for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just listening to everybody in the room, I can tell there's some smart, passionate people who care about the environment and care about the future of Ashtabula County. So I wanted to make mention that on October 24th, we are hosting a sustainability summit at Kent State Ashtabula. It'll run all day, probably from 8 to 4. We have experts coming in to talk about a variety of topics on energy, climate, the future of farming, our environment, community composting, and other topics. So please feel welcome to come. Details online, Ashtabula County Sustainability Summit. Thank you.
Thank you. That sounds
Is there
interesting.
a flyer information, because we'd like to announce it at our next council meeting?
I don't have it on me because it just occurred to me to share that information, but I can get it to you somehow.
You can just, send it to me and I'll get it. All right, is there any unfinished business? Any new business? Okay. Our next meeting will be November 5th, and meeting is adjourned.